Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Companies have doubled down on their technology investments, but what about investing in their employees? Joining me is Volini. She's the global human capital leader of Deloitte to discuss the 10th annual 2020 Global Human Capital Trends Report, the social enterprise at work. Paradox is a path forward. And in this report, Deloitte examines ways to create a level of sustainability by finding the intersections between humans and technology. Erica, it's great to have you with us. Welcome to Trade Talks. And why does this study matter so much to business leaders?
First of all, it's great to be here. It matters because what we have seen over the course of the past decade, but I think we've seen it in spades, in particular during the pandemic, is the power of the potential of human workers and what really happens when we tap into the power of humans and integrate them with the latest technology, with AI, to be able to make an impact on productivity and an impact on the bottom line. And that's why this is so important right now. We have witnessed over the course of the past decade, organizations bring technology into their companies in spades with the cloud, the explosion of data, new technologies. We've also seen massive shifts in how organizations are dealing with their people. We've seen new social contracts emerge, new ways of working emerge, but we consistently see those being kept on two distinct tracks. Someone's focused on the power of technology and someone's focused on the power of humans. And at the same time, during that same period, we have seen either declines in productivity or productivity not reaching the levels we expect to with the fourth industrial revolution. We asked the question, why? And what we found is it's because organizations are relying on technology to change the nature of work itself, and that's just simply not going to happen. We need the power of humans to help move forward and think about how to best leverage that technology in a powerful way.
And Erica, worker well-being is going beyond feeling well physically. It extends to purpose and belonging, and that is something that's gotten a lot of attention more than ever as a result of our social environment. And that's a good thing because true structural change is way overdue. What did you learn from the report in that respect?
Absolutely. So well-being was actually our number one trend this year, which I will say shocked us. Number two was belonging. But to your point, it should be pretty obvious, I guess, because well-being, especially mental well-being, has been such a big issue. I mean, workers are more overwhelmed than they've ever been before. We're seeing stress at its peak. Frankly, the move to remote work has put stress and mental stress, I think, really in the forefront. But when we wrote our well-being chapter, again, we asked ourselves, why is this still such an issue? Because the investments that we're seeing in well-being are huge. We're talking about millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars being invested in the well-being market. But what we found is most organizations keep well-being to the side. In fact, 70% of our 9,000 respondents around the world say they do not design work for well-being. So while you can go and take a yoga class or go and figure out how to deal with mental stress separate from work, when you're working, it is not designed to take into account what you need for your mental well-being. Meaning, we're not looking at the structure of teams to think about different schedules. We're not thinking about how to just take breaks throughout the day. People have talked about Zoom fatigue. How are you helping your workers understand how they have to take those breaks in their day so that they can take a moment of relaxation? How do you think about people's personal schedules and build that into how you construct teams or how you construct the day? Those are just simple ways that you can design work for well-being. And we believe that's what's going to help us really start to chip away at this huge issue. I mean, we have the World Health Organization just declaring burnout as a diagnosable health condition. And I think that's a real sign of the times that we're now talking about burnout and worker well-being as something that's diagnosable because it is such a pervasive issue.
Do you think the convergence between humans and technology could potentially bring out the best in each other?
I absolutely do. I mean, I think about contact tracing. That's the example I've been using because I think that really brings it to life. We all now know about contact tracing, probably more than we ever wanted to know. But the truth is that we have so much great technology that helps us with contact tracing. But in the US alone, there are 300,000 open positions for human contact tracers. Why? Because the technology alone is not going to help us to do contact tracing in the most effective way. We need people with empathy. We need people with listening skills. Because when you're dealing with a stressful situation and you're trying to figure out who did you get in contact with, when, and it doesn't show up on your iPhone, you need people to be able to interview to really understand where that person was and who they got in contact with. That's a great example of the power of humans and technology and how it can be brought together. We could see that in the workplace every single day. We just need to take a step back and understand what are those essential human capabilities that technology will never have, and how do you create what we call in our human capital trends report super teams, meaning it's not about substituting human work with technology. It's about augmenting and creating collaboration between the humans and technology where they're truly working side by side, where we're putting AI into the group and we're using that technology to help bring out the best of what humans do. That's really what we're trying to capture here in this year's trends report, and what we think is essential for organizations to do as a path forward for the next decade.
And Erica, to wrap here, what must leaders do to address tech-related ethical concerns and an alternative workforce?
Absolutely. Ethics was one of the 10 chapters we wrote about this year. And it's not just ethics as it relates to technology, it's ethics as it relates to the future of work. And what we believe organizations need to do is gain a different perspective. They need to be asking about not just what can they do, but what should they do and how should they do it moving forward. And that brings up a whole set of different questions. We've just seen a major technology organization announce that they're going to be getting out of a business in terms of facial recognition because of the consequences of using that technology. And it's just one of many examples I think we're going to continue to see in the marketplace as organizations start asking themselves, how should we tackle issues with the future of work? How should we be paying the alternative workforce? How should we be using technology that invades individuals' privacy? Because while the technology is there, we have to keep the human considerations front of mind.
Erica, I appreciate the insight. Thanks so much for joining us on Trade Talks.
Thanks for having me.
And thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.